Hello everyone, and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon for another 3v3. This was a large game hosted mostly on my own Discord, so if you are curious about that, just leave me a comment. I'll get you the information for it. It's not quite completely public as of yet, but we are trying to use it to organize some larger games, and this was one of them. So I'm playing over here on the western side as Anzac, of all things. Not UK, not Great Britain, but Anzac, teamed up with Grim Reaper and Lowing, common allies of mine, I know, but we're going against two people who are in Discord, Justin and Boomer, while I Hate Helos, who I've played with before, was unfortunately not able to join us in voice. So my intention is to secure Charlie, to push into Echo, and to help Grim here in the center with securing Bravo, while Lowing's task was to push into Juliet, which he's trying to do very aggressively here, getting some paratroopers already on the way, as well as some helicopter support, while also trying to secure the town. So that early artillery attack gave me an idea, and I do send two cheap 65-point Mirage 1110 A's, jeez, that has to be a better way to say that, in, and we do actually get a very nice counter bombing run on that artillery piece. Very much worth it. We lost 65 points in bombers, but we were able to take out about 120 points in artillery. Meanwhile, I have a bunch of infantry moving up, and yes, I know I need smoke. I know I need smoke, but I don't have it quite yet. I was hoping just to get here a little bit before my opponent, and that's not able to occur, as there are Dinos moving up on the left, Spado and Scout 2 is moving up on the right. I do have an elevated position here, but maybe not the best units for it. I was curious if maybe the PCs would be able to get those Brownings online. I'm not quite sure about the ranges in this because, of course, there is no rangefinder other than fire at position, but the Dinos were just incredible. So I was trying to use Diggers 90 because of the rate of fire, even if there's low AP, but you can't shoot if you're just getting stunned, and those Dinos are very much doing that to us right now. In the meantime, on the eastern side, Lowing and Grim are able to relatively safely move forward. Grim has secured a forward position here in the center toward Gulf, commonly held for people on this side of the field at the start. And the counter to it is, of course, the Red 4 players moving up and on this plateau, getting a little bit of overwatch fire from these woods positions and forcing people back. So we're going to have to watch out for that as time goes on. Bombers coming in and a lot of grindy combat coming on here. Even the NZ SAS not able to handle those Dinos, who killed 2 units of Diggers on their own. My only answer to it will be a pair of Vickers Mark II. Now these guys are, I think they're pretty awesome. They're 45 points, and they're basically like the French sort of light tanks that are just really big guns on wheels. So let's see, both of them moving up. I'm looking for side shots here against the Dinos. Doesn't look like it, they are able to turn, but one of them does go down, so that gives us some edge. And Vickers shooting in, landing a hit, panicked, and dropping that accuracy to 38%. Let's see if he can return the favor, but nope. And the Vickers are able to take out those 2 Dinos very well. So valuable points trade. I only wish it had come more early and been able to save my infantry. In the meantime, however, Grim's push onto the sledge is being repulsed by I Hate Helos with, of course, a helicopter, as well as some troops on the ground, and that does look like it could be a bit dangerous. The enemy pushing down through into that basin or coming right down the pipe into the town, and my ally Lowing's commandos and paratroopers have been repulsed from Juliet. So a bit of a worrisome situation there. We are taking at, our enemy is taking at +1 as Golf and Echo have been capped, but I'm just now getting an Oslov C command vehicle into my own zone, so that should even things out for a bit. I was attempting to push to this town, but my M113A1s are taken out. Spado, of course, able to hold that off pretty well, and I was happily surprised to see that, yeah, we were able to open up with the Brownings providing covering fire from the ridge, but we're also able to take return fire from that Topaz. So I was asking for some arty if anyone had any, of course, because Grim also was in and out of voice chat the whole night, but unfortunately no dice there. And the Mistral's just freaking split-fired, you're kidding me. One shot taking down one helicopter, one coming in and missing, and then followed by a hit against that Mi-24P. Let's see if he can get out or if he will fall prey to French Mistrals. It does look like he's able to retreat, and Grim able to get some infantry up onto the sledge. Will be a very nice thing for us. In the meantime, a Wilk coming in, this time no messing around with those tanks, and that will be a challenge for the Vickers unless they can get a nice surprise shot in first. So I do have a Bushranger and a Bell, and I'm attempting to do something on this forward plateau as my opponent has not taken advantage of that. I'm thinking maybe if I can get a Leopard up, I might be able to ambush tanks going across that bridge. I don't really play this map that often, so it was a bit of a learning experience just to see what it is I could do, and now I have finally a quad stack of mortars coming in. That's a bit too much just for smoke. I was also intending to use them as direct fire support, as I had a pretty good idea on, well, indirect fire support rather, as I had a pretty good idea where my enemy's infantry was. So, Vickers coming in, landing a shot, but unfortunately dying to the Wilk. Let's see if the second one, yep, does get it done. So of course, very short range is going to boost that 17 AP on the Vickers up to enough to be deadly, even to something way bigger than him. So Bushranger, meanwhile, using those rocket pods, but unfortunately they're not the good ones, they're the bad ones, and we can definitely see that as those Topaz 2As are able to survive. However, there are a pair of M1 Wilks on the other side, and this is turning into a bit of a grindy mess. I do spot this Mi-24P over on the western side, and these guys should be retreating shortly. Yep, just immediate, nope, get away. But we'll have to see if it's fast enough, as this guy, of course, is way quicker in the air than my Leopard is on the ground. He was reversed, so we're able to eat the first ATGM without too much trouble, but the second one, actually swing and a miss, and let's see about the third. Yeah, okay, so the Leopard did go down, but was able to get that 24P in range of a tracked rapier, which does get a little bit of revenge. Actually, that was the best AA piece I had available. And now Boomer and Helos are attempting to get some work done over on the right. So Boomer smoking up this pass and trying to get infantry in. It looks like 2 triple stacks of something or other. Engaging with Chasseurs, also engaging with the French AMX-10 and some of Grimm's Leopard 2s. A little bit of a dangerous position for the Leopard 2s as they have their back towards some potential enemy. But Panzerjäger, the BTRs, getting stunned, panicked, killed. In pretty good order, just I think the smoke needed to be a bit farther back to protect them until they can get into it. Nostovaki as well are not exactly cost-effective infantry, but it should be noted Boomer was using a random deck, so he kind of got what he got. And what he got was good. He got Baltic motorized, but still random Baltic motorized. And you can see now we are pounding in against that enemy position. I'm not going to flip to neutral right now because I do want to preserve the kills from my own team, but I think that was actually reasonably effective at grinding down the enemy infantry. But I have been fully pushed out of Echo, and if we're going to do it again, we're going to need to really be serious about it. Bushranger resupplying at the FOB, lots of more infantry coming up, as well as lots of more, that's horrible English. Lots more infantry moving up, as well as a Vickers Mark II. Of course, I don't really have very heavy tanks with Anzac, so I was trying to use those Vickers as valuable knife fighting sort of vehicles. Meanwhile, Leopard 2 is moving back, and we can see Helos and Grimm just sort of still staring at each other in the center. So, I am going to have a problem here in just a second as the Wilks move up far enough to be able to get some direct fire on my reinforcements. This would have been an ideal time for an enemy bombing run to just hit this position in the trees, but because of that, I'm having to move my other reinforcements over and into the woods before they get on that straight. We do, however, engage with the W3W Sokol, and that should be okay-ish. Taking direct fire from tanks all the way back there is kind of goofy, but yeah, the infantry were actually able to take down that enemy Sokol just fine. And with all of my reinforcements getting here, the M12 5A1s are going to be opening up with smoke, trying to knock the line of sight away from those enemy tanks and allow me to push up and into that position. So, you know, I said it was a lot for just smoking something, but that's a pretty thick field of smoke, so I'm quite happy with it. I think that's probably fine, and it looks like either Juliet hasn't been capped or there was a lucky bombing run or some such, but we are still getting a +1, so if I can push into Echo and do something there, we might be able to get into a +2 and really take the edge in this fight. However, a couple enemy units over here, probably Topaz transports, as they are taken out by one shot from the Vickers at that high range. Oslov PCs, meanwhile, getting in, just trying to see, are those Wilks still there? And yes, there is still one right there, and yes, it can eat Oslov PCs for breakfast, but spotting, and the Vickers able to open up on scope 2, so now I know where it is. Diggers moving up, and this whole push just headed into the enemy position. In the meantime, however, an attack marker was dropped as I think Lowing tried to move up in the northeast and found that Helos and Boomer had a very nice defensive position on the top of that ridge. It is, of course, a very difficult position to attack up and into as it's moving into a firing concave. However, the Wilk here is trying to avoid M113A1s. We're able to get a lot of combined arms support against what were Spado, but now is Niebieski Beredi over on that side. These guys, of course, very powerful fighters, maybe not the most cost-effective, but certainly strong 15-point shock infantry nonetheless, and some of that extra strength is soaking up bullets from the M113A1. So Vickers, meanwhile, able to take out another Wilk, just knife fighting, really better than I had ever really hoped for. And MRAs and Commandos are going to be getting some combined arms fire on the Niebieski. Maybe not the best idea. I should have been moving these guys forward rather than having them sit there and shoot, as it did open me up to enemy artillery or bombing runs, but none of that quite happened. So if we take a zoom out, Bravo and Foxtrot have thus far been inconclusive. The enemy not capping Juliet is curious, but there it goes. And this is the stalemate position for this map generally, as Echo is held by Red 4. We're holding Charlie okay, although I've seen Charlie get pushed really well previously. It didn't happen this time. And I'm trying to just smoke up my enemy's fire support. We are dropping SASR as just elite infantry trying to move into those woods as well. The Niebieski Bereti are still holding strong, so we are going to be trying to block off their line of sight. And also just those moving. I figured these were anti-air support, and I wanted my Bushrangers online, so for fear of losing the Bushrangers, I rush in Chinooks. Not exactly the most cost-effective move, and there is a Sokol moving up as well as we start taking fire from Shilkas that had ran through the smoke to try and get some sort of open field of vision. Sokol, meanwhile, does take out my Bushmaster, but now we have some bombers coming in, and at least one of those should be aimed at the Shilkas. MRAs and Commandos taking down the enemy Sokol is pretty nice, and yes, lots of big explosions there as we do take out some of the enemy support. So I'm starting to feel a bit more confident here in Echo. I'm trying to secure the bridgehead, because if I can do that, it seems Justin had a bit of a tendency to bring in some pretty heavy tanks. These are T-72Ss, of course, which are very heavy tanks, and he's bringing them into the woods where they're going to be fighting with infantry. Maybe not quite the best idea. It had worked pretty well with the T-55s at the start, but in part just because those guys were so cheap, and, you know, sure, the T-72s were not going to be able to really pen that frontal armor very well, but I have lots of diggers, I have lots of commandos, and even if the first group is dying, the commandos in particular with those Carl Gustav M2s, I mean, look, one of the tanks is already down, it's 125 points, and there's a second one just sitting there ripe for anti-tank work to the face, so that should be pretty good. In the meantime, however, Sapri moving up from I Hate Helos. I've never really seen that before, attacking over this without smoke to block that off, but, I mean, Stutroopen are making short work of that maneuver. So if we return over here, Chinook's testing the waters to see if there's enemy AA, or if they'd be able to maybe get those miniguns online. Spotting Motschützen and the SASR are opening up. I'm sending MRAs around, trying to just use those quick rate of fire Carl Gustav M2s to clear out other support or things in the woods. As I expected, maybe there were some more tanks over there. We had seen them earlier, after all. Commandos rotating back as they have used their Carl Gustavs. I've lost one whole squad of diggers. Well, I guess one double squad of diggers. But these guys are trying to use the last of those laws. We'll have to see if it works. I'm not actually sure. There's only 2 shots left, and the diggers might get shoot through by another heavy tank. So, I mean, hey, if it works, it works. And right now, they're able to win that combat. I guess barely. 1 strength left on the Wilk, but my diggers are out of ammunition. They have nothing else that can hurt it, so that's good enough. Artillery coming in, just once again trying to pound in, and this was the damnedest thing. So my Oslav C does not have great armor, just 1 top armor. It's just pretty cheap, but it had managed to completely dodge cluster that was probably focused on the top of it. Actually, did I lose? Yeah, even the transports there are able to shrug off a little bit of fire and still move up. So they will be injured, but I don't really care about them as much as I do about the infantry. Now we have a really big push coming in from Lowing, so smoke along all of these woods, stopping that firing concave, and French forces also moving up with some of Grimm's Leopard 2s, just trying to contest Juliet, trying to bring us back into a favorable position on this map. But a lot of forces are committed here, and there's a very quick response. I Hate Helos is bringing over an Mi-24P, which will be absolutely brutal to the Allied armor. So I guess minigun opening up there, it's not going to do all that much that quick though, and yeah, that's going to be, I mean, losing the AMXs isn't horrible. Some of the Chasseurs dying with them is not exactly ideal, but a double squad of helicopters coming in from Justin, and they were actually able to trade with one of my tracked rapiers, so I moved him up and taken a couple shots, but not a lot of lucky fire there, and as it is a double squad, and, you know, lots of ATGMs, lots of those Kokons coming out, they were able to answer more than quickly enough. In the meantime, the Mi-24P over here doing excellent work until Lowing's able to answer with the Celtic, but that's a lot of infantry and infantry fighting vehicles gone, and that's going to be a problem, particularly in these woods. that will rely on a successful infantry grind. So MiG coming in, not quite sure what he was looking for, but actually does take a shot from the Celtic. Let's see if he takes a second. Yep, and that plane is gone, so kind of goofy there. And these helicopters are single-handedly delaying my attempt to move further into Echo, which is right now being held by SASR, but again, that second group of diggers was lost. It's a bit of a tenuous situation. Even if the points are maybe going my way, it certainly didn't feel that way, and I didn't really have the tools available to make it go more that way. Bomber coming in, and I was actually aiming for the helicopters, and we do manage to get them. So high explosive bombs close enough to finish that off from the F-111C, one of my favorite bombers in the entire game. Now, however, Helos is starting a push in between Golf and Fox, probably figuring with what's happening in Juliet, he has to either move or die. Lots of close-range artillery coming in, high explosive, stunning the hell out of this forward position. Grenadiers stunned, Stuttruppen and Panzergren getting chewed through as Motostrelki and other elements are trying to move up and into that shelled position. Meanwhile, Panzerjägeri and Nivosh are defending for the Red 4 team against Stuttruppen, Leopard 2s, and AMX 10s, and that will be reasonably effective. Let's see if the Leopard 2s are able to take these BTRs down, but, I mean, our allied troops are definitely a little bit outnumbered, and, I mean, PH2 Tiger is going to help with that, so you should be able to open up with Stingers, and yep, the Nivosh go down. Nostovaki are not able to really pull their weight, and it looked like that situation was turning, but we're just able to hold it. Meanwhile, however, Grim is getting sort of bored through here. T-72A is, of course, very cheap fire support, and along with BTRTs to handle the infantry, seemed reasonably effective. T-80Bs, meanwhile, moving up, and a single Leopard 2 is not going to be able to stop them at that close range. However, my commandos have finally gotten a toehold in this town, which was very much something I had wanted. And we're just starting to move through, trying to grind through the enemy infantry here as much as we can, as well as just smoking the enemy tank position, denying that fire support from making a difference. But just a quick response to it again is going to throw me a little bit off kilter. We are going to speed things up here a little bit, as this was a very long game, even if it's one of the ones that I think has been most fun for me in the last couple of weeks, and certainly for some of my allies as well. The enemy command vehicle is spotted but not killed, however that decap does gain us a passive +1 ticking for just a minute here. Bomber coming in, I guess gun running the Tiger, which, you know, that's a choice. But now we do have some French reinforcements unfortunately killed inside their VABs by Panzerjägeri and not able to maintain the push there. And oddly enough, Sapeurs, Iglas, I mean, the position in the northwest is getting chewed through. There hasn't really been a lot of response from Grim for reinforcing that. He was just spending points elsewhere, which, I mean, was necessary as well, so you gotta deal with what you can, but that is going to be a dangerous situation, and more T-72Ss and Wilkes crossing the woods here, and, you know, with good fire support from a Sokol, that should be pretty nice. 2 F-111Cs coming in, and I'm just kind of trying to see what'll happen. So, of course, HE bombs aren't that effective against armor, and 2 of those huge bombers were barely able to scratch these guys. The Mirage as well landing, yeah, that did nothing. It stunned, but it didn't do any sort of other damage. However, those 2 guys, oddly enough, aren't going to be moving backwards to refuel. They are going to be moving forward even still. However, Grim has lost this position in the woods, and it's very dangerous to let the Red 4 player move this far forward, because if they should secure this woods, or if they should secure some of these little hedgerows, it can become very, very difficult to hold the western side of Fox, which may or may not be what's about to happen to us. However, Lowing and Grim have had success on this side. The enemy BMP Copa is still moving forward, not able to cap comfortably. Tiger had moving up as well, and KCT around the back end, probably headed toward India. Of course, the Tiger's out of all ammunition and nearly dead, so he and the bow are going to be moving back pretty soon, and I'm just trying to secure this position still. I probably should have capped it by now, but that should be happening relatively soon, as we're just sort of hoping for that little bit of an edge. Kahu does come in and gets a nice kill on an enemy tank that was moving over to support, and Helos is going to have to be a little bit more careful about where he's calling his reinforcements from. Now the infantry response from Grim is coming in, but Martyr 1A3s taking fire from T-80Bs is not going to be a good thing. Deccan's Grupa too far away to use their main gun, and Martyr 2s also are going to be suffering in this engagement. So the intended infantry reinforcements were a little bit too late to be effective here. H-64TD will be pretty nice and able to kill a BTRT off the bat, Tornado Bomber coming in as well, but things are getting a little bit dicey. We haven't really managed to get that much of a points advantage. That Tornado is getting shot at. There's a lot of really good anti-air in the neutral section here as well. And yeah, the AH-64 TD is pretty nice, but only as long as it has vision, which unfortunately means as long as we're getting shot at. Of course, one of them does go down. There is answering smoke from the Red 4 player, but we'll have to see if it's enough, as that T-80B is nearly killed. Last ATGM on the way, and a miss. And yeah, firing solution is lost as the smoke does protect that tank. However, BMP-1 Copa moving up a bit farther than maybe I would have, but engaging finally with the Blue 4 troops as Lowing is able to get that kill and decap Juliet. So we are back to getting a +1 ticking. My Kahu was trying to come in to kill that T-80 but lost his vision and is moving back. This will prompt a heavier investment in AA from our opponents, but I'm trying to help out now a little bit on that side as I really have just locked off the bridge here. Commandos 90, MRA, yeah, the Salamander would be an issue, but RBS 70 even moving up, anticipating this, and we should be able to get shots online. That's 1, 2, only one hit, and there's the second volley, down goes the Salamandra, and with that and with capping the town, sending some SASR over, Echo is effectively infiltrated for the Blue 4 team. So in the meantime, pretty much mostly, like, Juliet's a bit of a wash at this point, and even worse, it's proving to be a wash that's losing us Foxtrot. It's not exactly ideal. I'm trying to bring out some Vickers and some infantry to sort of round this out a little bit, as well as Rover Milans, but I called these in and then started microing over in Echo, and I hadn't realized we'd lost even more ground in the meantime, so my Ferrets and Rovers will be getting kind of shot up here in a second. I'm just hunting for a command vehicle, but I can't seem to find commandos around the far side even, and SASR searching through those woods as well. There's a lot of places to hide there, a lot of just random bombardment wouldn't really do all that much. And we do finally have, so the Red 4 team attacking from both directions here, as well as it looks like over the top. Maybe not what I would have done, as this helicopter is going to run into some Mistrals pretty quickly, but I think they're just trying to get this done as quickly as possible. Yeah, Mistrals make short work of that attack helicopter, and there are reinforcements coming in from Lowing, so maybe he'll be able to hold it. SASR do find and kill the enemy command structure in Echo, well, almost kill it, so there's the Führungs, and yep, there it is. It looks like we actually had counter cap, so I do have an Oslov C here, and now because of Juliet we're taking out a +2. Foxtrot is neutralized, but you know, this was one of those situations where we might be losing slowly enough in Fox to allow our win in Echo to carry the day. So a pair of Kahus coming in, I don't quite know what happened, but only one of them is getting out, and let's see if he even manages it as more AA comes in. And I lost both my Kahus to some questionable decision making and, well, unfortunately losing vision on their targets. So that was pretty expensive. I really do love Kahus. They're kind of like Australian peace rhymes, although slightly different, but still not that far off. Bombing run does come in, and that will be not damaging my SSR because it's cluster, so it was the wrong choice for that. Commandos 90, however, running into a pair of T-72s from Helos is going to be a bit of an issue. They are able to get some fire on. The T-72s stop because I think they shoot through those commandos pretty well. So, I mean, hey, it's when it works, it works. Meanwhile, Tiger Hap from Lowing is killed in Juliet, and the reinforcements here are just becoming a little bit desperate, trying to mount some sort of counterattack from the right side of Fox as well. ATGM's able to get a kill on that tank, and a seed plane coming in, but being stunned by non-radar AA, and the fact that there's a Strela 10M that far forward is definitely a bad sign for our control of the zone. Meanwhile, however, SASR surprisingly getting killed as well by the T-72, just unloading with Carl Gustav M3s into, it looks, well, just huge amounts of frontal armor, but it looks like we were able to get that second kill as well. Actually, no, there's only one. I think I disengaged. Yeah, okay, I disengaged, re-engaged here in just a second, trying to allow the SSR to reload that Carl Gustav and get a nice first shot against that enemy tank. Let's see that in action. Yep, there it is. Down goes the T-72. So PDH Tiger from Grim is trying to go up and support, but taken down by some AA from I Hate Helos, and he really is just kind of wrecking us this game. Fortunately, though, we are able to go up to +3 as Fox has been resecured, even if only temporarily. And now, if I had to guess, there's a whole bunch of Red 4 stuff all over. By the way, the resecure was because we had seen the command vehicle drive in, and this was a bombing run, because you know, you can smoke it all you want, that protects from direct fire, it does not protect you from an F-111C. And even if that was a one-way trip, it was worth it to trade into that little bit better command points, well, not command points, but conquest points for winning the game, or at least hopefully losing it slower. P4 PC from Lowing, maybe a bit of an aggressive choice here, but oddly enough is able to go through Hilo's couple of garrison units there. It was pinged by the enemy. They did see it when I was watching from their perspective, but he might actually be able to cap Juliet, even if only temporarily, and between that and still maintaining control of Foxtrot for right now, things are looking pretty bad for the Red 4 team, even though I have to say this game always felt like there was something going on, and it wasn't always exactly what I wanted. Echo is held pretty tightly. There's no reasonable way in the next 13 minutes that this would really be shaking loose completely. It might be challenged, but not shaken loose completely. The issue is, the rest of the field. So, local superiority is only good if it's enough to sway the day. So Juliet has been capped. That puts us up to a +4, but look at this response from Boomer. Tons of infantry coming in. Yekri, Nostovaki, BTRs, backed up by a Jaguar, and just running into the French Legion, maybe even running through them. Let's take a look at how this goes. T-72 opening up a little bit, but no great firing solution there. Looks like the main gun coming online, yes, into the chasseurs. Yekri and Nostovaki, of course, are relatively cheap. So are chasseurs, but backed up by Leclerc and AMX, this is going to be a tougher nut to crack than Boomer might have expected. Of course, the Legion are getting shoot through. Chasseurs getting shot by AA, actually, which is a surprisingly effective tactic, and more reinforcements from Boomer coming through as well. I don't expect Juliet to hold for very long. So, just look at that. I think Boomer had just said, okay, well, let's save up for proper push and then do it. Shilka actually shooting in, potentially stunning Leclerc, and that heaviest of tanks able to hold its position just for right now. Block 15C coming in, and Boomer's advance was crushed a lot more effectively than I had thought it would be. The AA was lost, nothing's been able to hurt this Leclerc, and that autoloader is still just providing brutal fire. PT-76B able to get really close, and we'll have to see what that main gun can do if it can fire. Still aiming, and taken out by the Leclerc before it can fire, because, French autocannons are definitely fair. In the meantime, F-111C is coming in, and I tried to help over on the right, and I thought maybe it would be better if I could help by distracting more or potentially pushing in over into Hotel, maybe even knocking out a command vehicle or something of the like. So a bunch of bombers coming in, plastering enemy AA positions. There were a couple heavy tanks in those woods as well, and that bombing run is not going to be the solution for them. But more artillery is going to just make matters go from bad to worse. This does look like, just look at that. Damn. I think that was a Buratino, actually, which does explain the fire and just the sheer devastation that piece was able to unleash. Seedplane coming in and getting a kill, and Helos is definitely doing his best to stave off defeat, but we are rounding 400 points, and it is going to be a bit of a effort in vain, I should say, at this point. Even should they push all the way through Foxtrot, we would be able to hold in Delta for long enough and hold in Echo and Bravo for long enough to keep the victory. So Yekri running into Legion, the Leclerc moving back, and he's used all of his main gun shots. Most of his Browning even, which is truly impressive. The isolated infantry in the northwest of Juliet is finally going to be taken out by Boomer and his BTR-50s, but it's a little bit too little too late. Lowing has been able to constantly provide just mechanized forces and backup into Juliet for long enough. Foxtrot is lost as artillery did take out our command vehicle, and there is an enemy command vehicle in that zone, taking us down to a +2, but Block 15 coming in and getting killed, and just, I don't know, I love these sorts of big games. As I'm sure you guys are aware, I kind of enjoy just the constant stream of this is happening, that's happening, and these big team games let me really just have a lot of fun with that, and there's always something to see, there's always something to watch, and it's just a nice time. So Helos does surrender, but with only 20 points left in the game and ticking at +2, we do just kind of play it out. So let's just speed through that a little bit. There's not much else is going on, and get into the kills and losses. So in terms of kills, losses, the Blue 4 team, me included, had 9,135 kills to 7,740 losses. I went pretty positive. Grim went negative by about 500 points. Lowing barely positive, but kind of impressive for how forward of a position he was taking to still have a positive KD. I Hate Helos did very, very well, but Justin and Boomer did struggle quite a bit in their respective sides of the field. So, in terms of units that did well, the Totu up in the high ground actually did okay. I'm not sure if he paid himself off, but that was alright. The Vickers Mark 11s did very well, killing Wilkes, killing Topaz as well. This guy killed 2 Wilkes, single Vickers, damn. F-111C bombers, of course, did very well, and the SASR performed quite well once they were able to finally get up there safely. Alright, well that's all we've got for you guys today. Thank you all for hanging around. We'll see you again real soon.